Welcome everyone back to a weekly weather update, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. We'll then run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. So we still have a couple decent days of warm, dry conditions, but come Friday, Saturday, Sunday and into the following week is looking like very unsettled conditions are arriving. Could be disruptive with the wind and rain, and we could even be seeing named storm potentially next week, as we'll have a look at the UK Met Office pressure charts, the GFS, the GEM, the ECMWF and the Ensembles, and you'll be able to see that there are very, very low pressure systems moving in next week. And as I said, we could be seeing a named storm potentially from what we're seeing with some of these models today. Some very, very severe conditions as we head into early September, as it is starting to come into the medium range now within the 7-day time frame. We are able to have a look at some of the details a little bit better. Does look likely we're going to be seeing a lot of precipitation. Some areas could be seeing 100 millimeters or more in 7 days time, and a lot of that falling between Saturday and next Tuesday. And of course we're even seeing some areas maybe in the southwest of England with some of the most severe scenarios seeing wind gusts up to 100 miles per hour with some of these very severe low pressure systems developing. So yeah, we really have to keep an eye on this. It looks really quite mundane outside at the moment, but come this weekend when that low pressure system drops from the North Atlantic and sits to our south and our west, it really could develop into something really quite nasty over towards the start of next week. So we'll have a look at what's happening with that in detail in today's video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in description. As we do start on the live radar, you can see nothing really is going on at the moment. Very dry, a few showers here or there, maybe across East Anglia and across parts of southwest Scotland and a bit of Northern Ireland, but most areas are very dry. Quite sunny as well. There is still plenty of cloud, but plenty of areas of sunshine, and temperatures are responding to that. Now, I'm recording this just before 3 p.m, and we've got the 2 p.m. observations, and temperatures are widely 20 to 25 degrees. The peak temperatures at the moment around that 24-25 degree mark in multiple weather stations up and down the country, and all across the British Isles. So it's widely very warm, and those temperatures could peak maybe 26 or 27 come the 3 or 4 p.m. observations. So I have to see that this evening. But if we do have a look at the temperature gradient, or the temperature colours on the map, you can see widely yellows and oranges. That's temperatures in the mid to high teens up towards the low to mid 20s. Nothing really into the darker reds, which is mid to high 20s. That is exclusively more across Europe. You can see the best temperatures are, of course, across southern areas, but not exclusively down into the southwest, parts of Wales, northwest England, Norwich area, across East Anglia, and across parts of western Scotland, and widely across Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. Some of the best conditions are there at the moment and over the next couple of days, because with this high pressure system we do have over the top of us at the moment, it's a bit of an easterly flow. So certain areas in the east are slightly cooler, but today it is more widely warm than it has been over the last couple of days. So yeah, really quite pleasant, warm, dry, late summer conditions as we head through the last couple of days of August. And I hope everyone did enjoy their long bank holiday weekend, as the weather was pretty stunning. Nothing crazy, no heat wave or anything, but warm, dry, as I said, late summer conditions. But it's all about to change in a few days' time, as we will see from the UKV run today. Now, if we do start at the moment, you can see hardly any precipitation on the chart by around 3 p.m. this afternoon. A few showers in the far east, but nothing too much. As we head forwards to tomorrow afternoon, very similar. A few showers here or there, but again, widespread sunshine and some cumulus clouds popping up here or there. Very similar as we head into Thursday. But one thing we've got to keep an eye on is to our northwest. You can see some precipitation just coming into screen there, and a lot more thicker clouds. Still widely though across the British Isles. It's sunny, dry, a few clouds here and there, and a few showers. But it's as we head into Friday, that's where things start to get unsettled. Friday, 3 p.m, heavy precipitation pushing in from the west. Originally in the form of showers, maybe some thundery showers. Elsewhere, still dry further eastwards, but there is notable cooler air and very unsettled conditions pushing in. And by Saturday afternoon, that weather front is pushed eastwards and southwards, pulling away a little bit across the Republic of Ireland, southwest England, through the afternoon. But further eastwards, because we now have low pressure involved, we got humid air still across these areas. Temperatures still could rise to the mid-20s, but heavy, thundery showers breaking out. So much more unsettled through Saturday, and that's similar to Sunday with this low pressure system just spiraling to our southwest, pushing up bouts of precipitation. And again, this is not the most severe conditions. The most severe conditions are likely to be coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time, as we are seeing on the model today. But for the time being, the weekend doesn't look like an absolute washout, apart from perhaps the west parts of Republic Island, Northern Ireland, Wales and southwest England. Further eastwards than that, it does look likely to still be dry, still be warm at times, but there's going to be some heavy, thundery showers about. Because if we do have a look at the air masses, the reason why this low could really spin up as you look to its east, 10-11 degrees at 850 HPA, warm air mass, temperatures mid-20s, but to our south and our west look much colder, almost 10 degrees colder, and this temperature contrast is spinning up this low, producing the very heavy rain and thunderstorms that could be on its eastern edge. If you look at the pressure, you see it's getting down to around 1,000 millibars in its centre, but it could be dropping a lot lower than that in the following days as this low pressure system is deepening as it does. That does make it very hard to predict, though. A deepening low pressure system is one of the hardest things for us to predict when we are looking at these systems. How low it does deepen and the exact positioning of that and how tight the isobars are. Because it's not too bad yet, but I'm going to be very interested to see what the UKV produces over the next couple of days. Because looking at the pressure charts from some of their mid-range models, it's looking really severe for the following days as this system does spin up. But if we do have a look at the temperatures, over the next 5 days, you can see today, temperatures widely in the mid to low 20s, slightly warmer than actually the UKV anticipated, around 24, 25 degrees, maybe 26 around 3 or 4 p.m. As we're through to Wednesday afternoon, temperatures widely again mid-20s to low 20s, 20 to 25 degrees. Could see a 25, 26, 27 degrees somewhere, but again, widely warm and dry. As we head into Thursday, you can see temperatures are still pretty decent, widely low to mid-20s, quite a widespread array of 24, 25 degrees across central and southern England, really quite nice. And by Friday, you see a notable difference across Northern Ireland, western parts of Republic Island as well, temperatures dropping towards the mid to low teens, as much cooler, fresher Atlantic air, and of course the positioning of the weather front will decide temperatures as well. But further eastwards, it's still dry and warm, so Friday could still be a good day for the east, but not widely. And by Saturday, those temperatures are more widely cooler. Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, perhaps parts of the southwest and parts of Wales are going to be a lot cooler with weather fronts pushing in. Further east, it could be really quite warm and humid, 26, 27 degrees, so it could feel quite hot out there, but there comes an increasing risk of heavy, thundery showers. So I'd much rather 23 or 24 degrees a few degrees cooler, but bone dry weather than 26, 27 being a little bit humid and potentially very thundery as well. So that is something we do need to keep an eye on through Saturday. But as I said, the most severe conditions, I must stress, will be coming through the early parts of next week. But those details are not concrete at this stage. As we'll see in the pressure charts in a second, it is really quite severe. And as we head into Sunday, still quite warm and humid in the east. 3 a.m, it's still high teens through the first few days of September. That's really warm, and that is fueling this low pressure system and the heavy thundery showers. Now, if we do go over to the UK Met Office run. Now, this is slightly different to the UKV, but it's still a UK Met Office run. Showing the pressure charts, this is probably one of the most highly regarded models in the world. Again, it is prone to uncertainty, especially around the 7-day time frame, but this goes up to 168 hours, so come next Tuesday. And we're going to see something here which is really quite severe, and if this does come off, I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing this named, a low pressure system here as a named storm, and I wouldn't be surprised to be seeing widespread yellow, amber, and you could even rule out a red warning for wind for this, and maybe even amber warnings for precipitation, so rainfall with this as well, as this UK Met Office run is extremely severe from the day 5 to day 7 period. Now, if we do follow it through, it just follows on from what all the other runs we've been seeing over the last couple of days. The low pressure sinks southwards, and by Saturday, Sunday, just spinning to our west, producing a lot of precipitation in terms of showers and some windier conditions, but still warm to its east. Now, day 5, Sunday, that's the extent the UKV gets to. And you see, it's not too bad. It's unsettled. It's pretty horrible out there, but it's nothing too crazy. Now, if you put on the 850 HPA temperatures, you'll be able to see it's a cool centre at this stage, but warm air is getting pushed into it. Now, watch what happens to this low pressure system. As we move beyond that, you see this low here sinks southwards. What we're seeing here is we've got a big mother low. If we watch it, you've got a big low pressure system, but little daughter low that's developing to the south of it. So little low pressure systems developing to the south of it. Around next Monday early morning, you see this low pressure system coming up, warm hot air engaging off the near constant, and watch that explosively this low pressure system develops to the southwest of England with a warm core. You can see that we haven't got cold fronts here, we haven't got warm fronts here. You can see it's just generally a warm, pretty hot air mass, and this is what I've seen some people on Twitter say is similar to a medicane, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a Mediterranean hurricane. Again, it is a little bit, iffy, because again, it's not an exact thing, because medicanes are quite rare, but it basically is a warm chord storm system. Similar to what a hurricane is. Because normally for the UK we get cold cores where it's a clash from cold air from the Arctic and warm air from the mid-Atlantic. That's what causes our low pressure systems and our storms normally. But this is a warm-centred storm, and it can be really quite severe in a localised area. And here it'd be across southwest England. You look at the United Kingdom, you can see again warm core, warm air being pushed into the centre of this low. And again, you might not think this doesn't look too severe here, but look how tight those isobars are. And you put on the gust speeds at the surface, and you can see it widely getting up towards 60, 70 miles per hour across much of England. Again, where it's blank is showing below 40 miles per hour wind gusts. Kilometres per hour wind gusts. But still really severe, 70, 80 kilometres per hour wind gusts. That's 40, 50 mile per hour winds. That's very, very strong. But you can see around the actual centre of the low, and if you actually run it back very slightly, 6 hours previously, you can see it's getting up towards 100 to 120 kilometres per hour. So that's pushing sort of 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. That is really, really quite severe. And again, that would be enough for a named storm. That would be enough for amber warnings, and if it did get this severe, you wouldn't even be surprised if a red warning was issued, because of the time of year as well. Still got quite a lot of leaves on the trees, could be extremely disruptive, and this all from a very small low pressure system developing within the wider low pressure system. So this is something we do need to keep an eye on, and this has just popped up today. We have been seeing little low pressure systems developing within it, but this has caught my eye today, and we are seeing it from other runs, similar sort of patterns, maybe not quite as severe as this, but similar sort of patterns for early next week through Monday and Tuesday. But you can see how it just explodes. You can see nothing there through early hours of Monday, but by Monday evening, bang, it arrives and gives very severe conditions. Now, something we do need to keep an eye on this as well is the precipitation. Now, if we do run it back on this run, again, I don't want to look at precipitation too much because, again, these are mid-range models. They're not going to be too accurate with it. But it is useful to see initially those weather fronts stay further westwards. Some precipitation further eastward through Saturday, but nothing too crazy. But it's through Sunday and Monday. Heavy precipitation pushes in, very significant weather front pushes through on Sunday, and as that very small low pressure system, potentially named storm, pushes up through Monday, some even heavier precipitation pushes through all the way 168 hours. And again, you might not think that's just 2 bouts of precipitation, but if you look at accumulated precipitation, initially nothing too much, but as we head towards the end of the run, very rapidly we develop areas of 50 to 100 millimetres of rain. So that's 2 to 4 inches of rain. That is really, really quite a lot of precipitation falling over only 2 days or so, 48 hours. And that could cause quite significant disruption over a widespread area along with the wind. It really could be quite wild out there next week from this run. Again, this is one scenario. It's not guaranteed, but it is very interesting seeing this today. Now, if you go over to the GFS and see what that does compare for early next week, if we do have a look, the high pressure is in control at the moment. Low pressure does drop through, and you can see small low pressure systems developing again, potentially through Sunday and Monday as well. Again, small little daughter lows developing in the main centre of the low, and again just spiralling and giving us very unsettled conditions all the way to the end. Again, you can see an Atlantic hurricane there, ex-hurricane there, pushing out to the North Atlantic, pushing all the way up towards Greenland, and that would bring some big amplification to the jet stream and sends us into northerly winds for the end of this run. So chillier conditions, and again, that is one thing we need to keep an eye on, is what happens with the Atlantic hurricane season as well. This is why it's so difficult to predict what's going on at the moment, because we've got so many variables at play. But that would cause potentially high pressure to topple back over again towards the end of the run. But of course, we don't really want to concentrate on the longer term. It's the short term, next 7 to 10 days, where we do have potentially quite severe weather on the way, is what we need to keep an eye on. So do run it back and go to the United Kingdom look and see exactly how these lows do develop over the top of the Republic of Ireland. You can see through Sunday, you see that small low develops across the south of Ireland, getting down to around 985 millibars, perhaps towards the centre of that low, and another small low pressure system developing within that as well. That could, of course, bring very severe conditions, and again, we have a look at those wind gusts, and again, as that low moves in, 80, 90, maybe 100 kilometers per hour wind gusts. Again, doesn't sound too exceptional, but that's 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts, and that can be very disruptive this time of year, as I said. And again, if we have a look at the accumulated precipitation, just watch how all the accumulation builds up across the west. Not as much further eastwards on this GFS run today, but in around a week's time, some areas, again, 50 to 100 millimetres. And you can see, if we go over to the European outlook, you can see how there's a big spiral of precipitation around the centre of that low. And that's why we are concentrating so much on where the positioning of this low pressure system is. Because if it is slightly further eastwards, the centre of that low towards southwest England, like the UK Met Office run was going for, we'd have a lot more precipitation further eastwards. So that's why deciphering the exact positioning of this centre of the low is going to decide how much precipitation we do see widely. But for some areas, it is looking pretty wild early next week, both in terms of a lot of heavy precipitation, heavy showers, thunderstorms perhaps, but also high wind speeds as well, and a lot of rain falling generally over a number of days. Again, really interesting seeing this, and it's something we really do need to keep an eye on over the next couple of days. Now, if we do have a look at the GEM run, see how that does compare. Again, low pressure jumping from the north, and again, small little low pressure system developing around it. Perhaps not quite as severe as the other runs, but instead of the low pressure parking further to our west, this GEM run parks low pressure over the top of us, and this would bring a lot more widespread precipitation for eventually exiting out in the North Sea. And again, we put on the precipitation there, you just see all that blue just spiralling around the UK. Again, we don't have accumulated precipitation here, unfortunately, but this would be really, really quite unsettled. And one thing, as I said, we have to watch out for is also the air masses pushing in as well. If we watch the UK Met Office run and the GFS run with the low pressure centred further westwards, it would draw warm air around its eastern edge, giving us quite warm conditions in the east, but also fueling the rain and the low pressure system. This is a more broad low pressure system, not quite as severe in terms of wind speeds. Again, if we do put on those 10-metre wind speeds, we can't have a look at the gusts, but you can see it isn't quite as severe around this low. It's still, yes, some stronger winds, but nothing too severe compared to the other runs. And the reason for that is because we don't have as much warm air pushing into it, so we're not creating as severe low pressure systems, but this would give more widespread, moderate amounts of precipitation and perhaps more longevity to it. So yes, the UK Met Office and the GFS would be more severe, but perhaps more exclusively further westwards, whereas this GEM run would be not quite as severe, still a lot of precipitation, still some strong winds, but probably not a named storm or anything, but it would be much more widespread precipitation. So yeah, we have to keep an eye on this. Again, all depends on the positioning of the low. If it's further westwards, put more warm air into it, could spin it up rapidly. If it's more over the top of us, could give more widespread unsettled conditions, but wouldn't get quite as severe as that warm air doesn't get wrapped around into it. So again, we'll have to see how it does play out. And finally, for the mid to longer range, if we have a look at the ECMWF, see how that does develop over the next 10 days. Again, high pressure over the top of us, low pressure drops out of the North Atlantic, and we do see low pressure systems spin up once again. This one develops just to the west of the Republic of Ireland there, and again, a lot of low pressures spinning around, staying well to our south and our west, and just generally pushing in a lot of precipitation. Again, if we go to the United Kingdom, look and have a look at what it's showing. Again, the low pressure is just out to our west, and as we head through next Sunday into Monday, again, you can see that low pressure system spinning up very, very quickly. Again, we can't have a look at the wind gusts here, unfortunately, but again, you can see very strong sustained winds around that, getting up to around 30-40 meters per second wind speeds. That's getting up towards sort of 50, 60 mile per hour sustained winds. That will be very strong. Again, only around the centre of the low. And that is why it's so important we decipher where the centre of these low set pressure systems are going to be. So you can see a lot of these models today are showing these small, localised, severe low pressure systems developing within the general low pressure area, and these could produce some very severe conditions next week, and they could become named storms. Very strong winds, 50, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, and torrential rain as well with it. And again, if you have a look at the accumulated precipitation from this, again, a lot of precipitation again falling, especially further westwards, but not exclusively as we head towards day 10. Widespread 25 millimetres, perhaps as high as 100 millimetres in some spots. So quite a soaking coming from the majority of the runs today. I do think a lot of areas are going to be seeing a lot of rain. Hopefully it does, at least one positive from this is it may do some may sort of do some damage into that drought we do have, and perhaps turn us a little bit more saturated as we head into the autumn. And hopefully it will mean we can come out of these drought conditions a little bit sooner than has been anticipated recently, as it has, of course. We have seen rain recently, but it has stayed generally quite dry. This would really put a big soaking quite widely. If we do finish by having a look at the ensembles, we'll run through this quite quickly as we have concentrated on those operational runs quite a lot. But you can see it's around average upper air temperatures at the moment, rising to above average conditions. So a lot of these runs are favouring warm air getting pushed into the low pressure system. 10 to 12 degrees Angel for the HPA, and around that 3rd to 7th of September time. So yeah, in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days time, that period there, very high precipitation amounts appearing here. Again, not deciphered completely because these are low resolution ensemble members and they are going to struggle to developing these small lows and the exact precipitation bands at this sort of mid-range stage. But very consistent signal now for a lot of rain to come next week, and with above average upper air temperatures. So where it doesn't rain, it will be quite warm, but then it could also fuel heavy showers, storms and severe low pressure systems. Beyond that, it does return more towards average, up and down, really, and precipitation does reduce as we get towards the middle of September, so perhaps a sign of higher pressure building back in towards the middle of the month. But there is really no point looking at this stage. We haven't really deciphered early next week too well, so it all is going to depend on what happens with that. And of course, we've got the Atlantic hurricane season, which is really powering up at the moment, and that could influence the mid to long range as well, so I have to keep an eye on that. Similarly, if we have a look at the ECMWF Ensembles, look at the midnight run, again, around average over the next couple of days, turning much above average from around the 3rd to the 9th of September, with a lot of precipitation as well, and quite a consistent precipitation signal all the way to middle of September. So autumnal conditions really are arriving with some very warm air masses as well, at times potentially next week. But as I said, it's just going to fuel these low pressure systems that are developing. So yeah, really severe conditions are possible next week. It's not definitive until we start seeing weather warnings issued, and when we start seeing it within the 5-day time frame, which could be a reality within the next 2 or 3 days or so. Once we start to see Monday and Tuesday onto the UKV, then we'll be able to say exactly what those conditions will be. It's still with speculation, still could just be generally unsettled with widespread precipitation and some gusty conditions, but also could be very severe with a named storm potentially, especially from that UK Met Office run, with a lot of heavy, dangerous amounts of precipitation falling in a short period of time, and very gusty winds, 50, 60, 70, 80 mile per hour gusts potentially on some of these runs today. So it's all eyes on this next week, but for the time being, make sure you do enjoy the dry, warm weather we do have today, tomorrow, Thursday, and for eastern areas through Friday as well. We can't even rule out some warmer conditions perhaps and dry conditions still on the weekend, but there is an increased risk of heavy showers and storms, and widespread rain more in the west as well. So yeah, I have to keep an eye on that towards the weekend. But as I said, for the time being, enjoy the last few days of meteorological summer, as it is remaining quite summery before next week it turns a lot more autumnal and potentially quite stormy. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.